Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. What's happening, everybody? I'm DJ Sir Daniel.
And I am J. Ray, sometimes known by my government, Johnny Ray Cornegay III.
That tickles me when you say sometimes known by my government.
Mhm.
I don't know why it tickles me, but welcome everybody to a new episode of Q Points. Thank you for being here. Please, wherever you are, I hope you're staying cool because as you can see, I got my arms out. It's hot AF. I
Yo,
mean, it's ridiculous across the country.
across the country. It's hot up here, man.
Stay cool. Hopefully you are somewhere cool listening to this conversation. Please keep up with us wherever you find your socials. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter and Facebook. And for all you people who are Facebook haters, J Ray has an announcement for you.
So, check it out. So, y'all, for the first time, y'all, we are simulcasting this very show on our website, qpoints.com. So if you go to qpoints.com to see qpoints.com, if you go there and scroll down, you can click on website simulcast. Now, here's what you can do. You obviously can't chat with us because if you're watching it on the website, you like, oh, I can't chat with them, but you can watch us. And that's really cool. We're excited to be able to kind of expand our reach, hit people in more places. And while you're there, and y'all, I promise, you need to sign up for the mailing list. We got exclusives. We got stuff that's just for y'all who are on the mailing list, but you got to join the mailing list in order to get the stuff that's just for y'all. So stop playing. Get up on the mailing list. So for y'all watching on Facebook right now, qpoints.com, click on become a Q Points insider so you could get inside Q Points. That sounds disgusting, but whatever. Do it.
I wasn't gonna go there, but ladies and gentlemen, y'all, people who know me know I'm the nasty one. So there you go. J Ray was the one that said it, not me this time. But yes, make sure you get into that. Please sign up. We want you to be an insider because the conversations, as you can see, are on point. They're on
Yes.
Q points. Get it? But anyway, so each week I tell J Ray, I tell him that every episode I've been getting some divine inspiration, but this week I didn't need any divine inspiration. There was so much mess, so much stuff going on in the world that had a music
Mhm.
slant to it. So this episode, we're hitting the shuffle button on tonight's show.
Yes.
J Ray, we have a gang of topics to hit tonight, so let's just get to it. Hit it.
Yes.
So, being in the music industry, you've obviously have to have a favorite music artist. So, who is your favorite music artist of all time?
Ooh, of all time, I'm not sure of all time, but I've been in my Donna Summer bag lately. Like her music makes me feel so sexy. I love the instruments. I recently did a campaign where her song was playing while I was shooting, so definitely love me some Donna Summer.
Oh, we love that. Have you ever thought that of collaborating with her in the studio at some point?
I mean, I would love to.
Oh, we love that. That's great. Speaking of new music, are you excited for your
Say what now?
We love that. We love that.
Oh,
As a matter of
oh.
fact, I think that Saweetie must be that collaboration is going to be fostered by Dionne Warwick because the only way a collaboration between Saweetie and Donna Summers is going to happen is if there's a Ouija board involved and they conjure up the spirit of Summer Donna. I mean, like I ain't taking nothing away from Saweetie, but I feel like back in the day when publicists used to be sitting right there off camera,
Yes.
something like that would have never happened.
No. No. We have an example of what would never happen if publicists
Yes.
were around. What's happening, y'all? What is this?
Where are the publicists? Y'all talking too much. Okay, so by now everybody knows that Mr. Pudding Pop has been released from prison. He is free with the pudding pop and the jello pudding, and he's free and all that. And so like instantly, some celebrities went to their social medias and commented. Look at Timberland over here, saying who wants a Jello pudding pop?
That is
I'm home now.
disgusting. That is disgusting.
And Timberland is not new to the industry. He's not young by any means, and he's not new to this industry. I don't get it.
I have so many thoughts. This show is a music show. Although Bill Cosby has released records, he's actually a very accomplished recording artist
Yes.
as well. I ain't going to spend a whole bunch of time talking about that, but I promise y'all, the Saweetie thing was so funny to me.
I cackled.
Because here's what we know.
I guffawed.
A guffaw. And I know y'all are sitting at home doing the same thing. Here's my thing. Here's what this speaks to. Number one, Saweetie has access to the internet. Like, if she doesn't, she might not, but I guarantee, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.9% sure she has access to the internet. And if somebody is being played and on your mind, Daniel, I Google. If I don't know something, if I hear something that is hot, I Google that artist because I want to know who that is. Yeah. And I would know that they were deceased.
And I'm just wondering, does age have something to do with it? She's a young woman. I think she's maybe 23. And whereas, we're significantly older than her, and, Donna Summer has been a part of our lives. Mm-hmm. So when she transitioned, that was a major moment to us. So maybe I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that it just didn't click, because that's not something on the forefront of her mind. So we're going to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
Now, another T, not Saweetie, but Ice-T. If you saw the other clip, Ice-T posted a Hot Boy Summer. Bill Cosby is about to touch down. So he's another one. Here it is. Oh shit, Bill Cosby might be touching down on the bricks. Hot Boy Summer. Now, the irony of all of this is that Ice-T has been on Law and Order SVU, which is a show about sexual victims, for over 20 years. So the jokes write themselves, folks.
I wonder so much about what people think, and there is no defending Bill Cosby. You can read up on why Bill Cosby is currently out of prison. It's very well documented about why that happened, and it's not because Bill Cosby is deemed innocent.
Right.
It's not why that happened. But even just taking a step back, there are just some third rail topics that it's easy to just be silent about. Like, it's easy to just not say anything. But I do, social media does give us, I think, the courage to take our instant thoughts and kind of type them out. And what I encourage people to do, and what I encourage my clients to do often, take a step back, baby. You don't got to hit send right away. Just because you're excited about the thing, write it, reread it. If you have some pause, just delete that tweet. It's okay.
You really don't have to. I think you and I were talking about this when the whole T-Pain, Usher Raymond conversation happened. And, I just felt like there's just certain things that just because it's on the tip of your brain doesn't mean it has to come out of your mouth.
Yes.
Just certain things just don't. I mean, if there's no real intention behind what you're saying, if it's not constructive, if it's not going to help anything, you probably don't need to say it.
Nope.
But my question then is, as it pertains to artists and being in the media, is artist development still part of the recording industry package? Because you mentioned social media allows these kids, and I say kids because there are a lot of them are kids, allows them to sidestep media training.
Yeah. Or we live in a world that also kind of has poo-pooed that sort of thing. I think so. Sir Daniel, we certainly came up in a musical environment where artist development and A&R as a job, that's artist and repertoire, was a job, a very high powered job at record labels. Let's talk about the gold standard for artist development. You know what the gold standard is. Drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat if you know. We're talking about Motown Records. Legendary for their artist development. And what Berry Gordy, it was the Berry Gordy school of like artist development. This is how you get artists ready to go out. The reason why the Temptations and the Supremes and Smokey Robinson and Marvin Gaye, why they showed up on stage suited, booted, ready to go in lockstep, was because they had to go through training to get it right.
And forgive me for not remembering her name right now, but they had a lady on staff,
Suzanne DePass.
That was that.
Oh,
no,
it wasn't Suzanne. No, you're talking about the etiquette. The etiquette. What's her name? Woman. Yes.
So you looked that up real quick, but while J Ray's looking that up real quick, they had a lady on staff who specialized in nothing but etiquette for both the gentlemen and the ladies of Motown Records. Mm-hmm. I think you even had like classes on how to pose for pictures.
Absolutely.
And how your toes needed to be pointed a specific way.
Yep.
And nowadays, like, people hear that and they wouldn't even consider that. They feel like, that kind of stuff is antiquated and doesn't have a place in the music industry today. But if you look at things like what is happening now, where a lot of artists put their foot in their mouth for saying things that they just really don't have any clear understanding on, they would know how to handle it when a reporter tries to throw something at you and you just really don't know how to handle it.
Yep. And so that individual's name was Maxine Powell. So Miss Maxine Powell, who passed away in 2013, was an etiquette instructor, and she worked with Motown Records in the 1960s. So that's what it was. Shout out to Miss Powell.
So yes, definitely shout out to Maxine Powell. If I think one of the last vestiges or influences of a Maxine Powell you could have probably seen was the Destiny's Child camp, because Dad, ran those girls like a boot camp. He had them, the legend is that they would run on a treadmill and singing their songs. Yep. Wearing high heels.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and when we think about that whole camp, right? So you had a parent who was a manager, much like, think of a Joe Jackson. So Matthew Knowles kind of fitting in that mold of a parent who's also very knowledgeable about business and ran that like that. So taking all of these elements from Motown, here is how you show up, here's how you look. You had Tina Knowles designing the look for the group, so the group showed up in a particular way. So kind of filling in for what the label may not have been able to do. Because when we think about Destiny's Child, we're talking about the mid-90s. Things had changed by then, even with A&R. So can we talk about A&R just for a second? Because I think this is really important.
Absolutely, because I think part of what inspired this segment is I finally caught the Mary document, the Mary documentary, My Life, and how, Uptown Records was another camp. Diddy was running A&R. You had Misa, who was their stylist. So Mary, Jodeci, Heavy D, all of those kids had a way of presenting themselves. Even though it was young and fresh, it was still uniform and it was still put together. But you're absolutely right. There was a point in the documentary where Mary J. Blige looked at an old interview of hers and pointed and she said, "Oh yeah, I could tell you right then and there, I was mad. I was pissed off because that reporter was trying to get me to say something that I did not feel like sharing, but training allowed her to say, you know what? I'm just going to keep a smile on my face and keep it moving because you're not going to get the best of me right now.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this bygone era of record labels, because record labels have changed. Like, record labels are literally brands at this point. You know, it's more of a facilitator of kind of getting artists information out there, but it operates very differently. But the artist and repertoire department was incredibly important at one point in time. So these used to be music people. So you would have these folks. Think of Clive Davis fits into this mold, right? Ahmet Ertegun from Atlantic Records fits into this mold, where these were these music people. Quincy Jones fits into this mold. These are music people who are very entrenched in music and discover often an artist. They go to a club, they see someone amazing, they're like, that one. This one has something. They bring that person to the label. Sometimes they got to the point where the power was so heavy that they could sign the person, and they become the go-between, or they were the go-between between the artist and the label. So this person, like you talked about Diddy helped to craft the sound, the look, the idea, the strategy for how the artists at Uptown would show up into the world. That's why you saw a consistency, to your point, Sir Daniel, between like a Heavy D and a Father MC and a Jodeci and a Mary J. Blige. Like, there was a line between them all because there was a person that said, here's what this strategy is. Here's how this looks. It'll feel like that artist, but it'll fit this mold, right? So we don't do that no more. That does not. That department, that idea is long kind of gone. And I'm going to put this graphic up because it's fascinating.
But before you tell us about this graphic, I was looking up and I saw Berkeley Music School still actually offers an A&R course.
Which is
like, you
really
can still learn.
Yeah.
You can still learn to be an A&R, but like you were saying, to your point, and we're going to find out the role of gatekeeping, because these sounds like gatekeepers is kind of a concept that a lot of people like to stray away from. But I think there's still a need for it. But please, break down this. This is a labyrinth here that you were about to show us right here. What is this? What is it saying?
So this is from chartmetric.com. You can go and find it. So the link down there is at the bottom. So if you go to swiy.io/AR-data, you can pull this graphic, right? But so because A&R isn't really a thing that exists in the way that it did, our A&R still exists in labels, but it's data driven. So these are data people. So it's a very different thought. The people that I described to earlier were music people. They were people who were music people. They helped to mold artists. Remember, Sir Daniel, when an artist would come out, they might get 2 albums before they did something. Prince had 2 records before Dirty Mind that were good and that were popular, but they didn't pop off. Janet Jackson, 2 records before she found her sound, right? So there was once a point in time when you could finesse the Fugees. First record, Blended on Reality, didn't pop, but they got a second record, right? Because somebody at that label was also figuring out, okay, this worked. Okay, we got vocab and the remix to the first single
by Salam Remy. And then they say, you know what? You and Fuji, Salam Remy, this works. An A&R person says, you know what? We're going to send you down to Miami or wherever Salam is at the time, and we're going to lock you in a basement with him, and he's going to produce a record. That's what the A&R
A&R used to do. So this is what kind of happens today, and this is really this is really AI driven. So it's kind of talking about this is very abstract, but it gives you an idea of how this thing that used to be a person who was culturally aware, who was entrenched in the scene, who believed in you as the artist, would help you do these things. Now there's this whole element where there are machines that help to decide based on data what happens. If you've ever wondered why songs sound the same or have a particular element, there's a reason why that happens, right? There's a particular thing, there's a particular melody, there's a particular groove that happens at the moment, and now everybody's doing that groove. Mm-hmm. You know, Drake ain't a singer, but everybody kind of doing a Drake thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody's kind of doing a version of Brandy from Full Moon. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's called programming.
It's called programming. And so that's what that graph really talks about. And I think why this is important today is, one, if you're a creative or an artist out there, understanding that happens, right? And figuring out where you fit. And if you are a person, I would also say, if you're a person who likes to work with artists, and you got a whole business that you can create to be able to provide that service to help an artist to develop their sound, develop their look, do that whole thing, because once they get to that level, they don't necessarily have that. Like, it has to be on the team because the label ain't necessarily doing that no more.
But J. Ray, that ain't paying. I gotta hit. I need to hit a lick now. I'm gonna look on Instagram and see who has the most followers, and if they have a video already, that's even better because I'm gonna see how many views that video has gotten, and hey, the job is done. They already have a built-in audience.
But what they don't have, and what we kind of saw with Saweetie, is you don't have there's some things that you can't teach, right? There's some things that you have to have a person there to be like, here is how you handle an interviewer. Because the perfect response would have been, if Saweetie was aware that Donna Summer had, passed away, could have been a funny quip of, oh my God, that would have been amazing, but Donna Summer passed away many years ago and I won't get that opportunity. But if somebody wants to put me on a Donna Summer track and we get a beat together, I would love that. That's a response. This person's knowledgeable and they putting out what they want in the future.
And it's funny that you say that because that may have been what she was thinking. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe I could use a sample of Donna Summer song and, add my rap to it. That might have been what she was thinking, but that's not how it came across.
That ain't the way how it
and that's across. Where the development and, media training comes in.
Yes.
But hey, that's that. We what do we know? We just some old heads that, listen to a lot of music and watched a lot of things happen over the years. And one of the things that we've been watching for years now is the BET Awards.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, first of all, they're back live.
Yes.
In person, which is huge. So, of course, the world is open, so everybody was outside. Mm-hmm. So they had full performances and everything. And, all the people can talk about now, of course, is Lil Nas X and The Kiss and Queen Latifah's alleged coming out, which that wasn't a coming out.
It wasn't, y'all.
That wasn't a coming out, y'all. But and that kind of stuff wasn't even the thing that struck me. But did you feel like the performances were a little lackluster?
Yes, but I felt that way for a while. I stopped really. I watch the type of stuff now specifically because we do Q points and I need to be at least somewhat knowledgeable about what's happening. But real talk though, it's been a really long time since I have paid attention to paid attention earnestly to award shows because I have found that they rinse and repeat. Stuff is just boring. Like, I remember there was several years ago, I won't name the artist because whatever. I was just looking at this, and this artist was like hot at that moment. It was the most boring performance I had ever seen. It was like triangles on the stage and like a car. I was like, I don't even know why that car is there. What does this car have to do with anything? And he was singing, but it was meandering. I didn't get it. And I was like, I don't know what these performances. And so even for the BET Awards this year, I felt like Cardi, I love Cardi B. She is good at being famous and being entertaining. I like Cardi. Her is always interesting. The baby had 3,000 things happening on stage. I really didn't care about any of it. I was just like, it's so much. It's so much.
But see, I don't think you're alone at all. I saw a lot of comments regarding the performances. People were kind of, were amused by the city girls and their dance routine.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people commented on Lil Nas X's performance. Like actually you were saying that we're not getting energy and we're not getting any kind of feeling, emotion behind these performances, which I think and again, I don't even think it's their fault.
Right.
Going back to what you were talking about, like when we looked at that labyrinth, that chart, all of these, the reason why a lot of these kids are famous is because they've hopped on social media, and social media, the numbers, the metrics have told these backers, these financial backers, this kid is going to make us money, make us money. And these kids get super famous super quick. And so if you have a hot song, now all of a sudden we want you to perform when you ain't never even been in a talent show your whole life. So now here we are. Then you get people like me and J Ray sitting looking at TV like, okay, entertain me.
Right, literally sitting there like, let's see what this gives.
and you can't, because that's not in your wheelhouse. Necessarily, that's not in your wheelhouse. You have your hers,
right,
who is classically trained and been on stages and whatnot since she was a child,
right,
and can give you a performance. But that's not always the case with a lot, and unfortunately, it's not the case with a lot of these rappers now, because MCs, I hate to sound like an old guy again, but MCs of our day actually had to hone their craft before actually getting put on.
Yep.
Like they had to go through battles and be tried and battle tested throughout their life.
Yep.
So, I'm gonna give the kids some leeway here. It's not their fault. It's really these people that are financially responsible, that want to make money off of Black bodies and Black creativity, are putting these kids out there without necessarily giving them what it takes to be successful, to become legendary, to become iconic. I mean, there's only a few of those left.
If there is one thing, and I wrote about this on my blog, I'll drop a link, about Beyonce. I was like, if there's one thing that people need to learn from Beyonce, is be great at what you do. Like, that literally is like, if there's a lesson that you could take away from what Beyonce does, it is literally top yourself. Like, she's not competing with anybody else but Beyonce at this point. And that takes training. If you watched Homecoming, it explained everything.
There's a work ethic that cannot be compared. And unfortunately, I don't see where a lot of artists have that same kind of work ethic. I mean, everybody says nobody works as hard as Beyonce. We're not even, and let's take Beyonce out of the equation. If you do put forth some type of effort, we're going to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's gonna be undeniable.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, and let's put that in perspective. I talked about Cardi B. Cardi, for all you could say about Cardi, I was like, I am entertained by watching a Cardi B performance. That woman up there pregnant, giving you full dance routine. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's no doubt that you have to learn that. You have to show up for rehearsals. You have to be that breath control. You got to have that together. Like, Cardi puts in work. Like, she's putting in work. Lil Nas X, listen, the kids will talk about Lil Nas X's dancing, but it has improved. You could tell that Lil Nas X, Sean Bankhead, got that baby in that studio, was like, look, listen, 5, 6, 7, 8, boo, come on.
The boom cacks are there. Now we just needed to show on your face.
Exactly.
Like you believe in yourself and your boom cacks. And, if we're going to talk about breath control, the Queen Latifah presentation tribute. Listen, Moni Love was phenomenal, like spitting like it was 1989. Breath control. MC Light was up there. Rhapsody's younger, but Rhapsody is somebody that put in time into her craft. And of course, Little Kim, the Queen Bee. Say what you want about her appearance, but Little Kim is still. And I will go on to say this, and I'll put this out there. Little Kim is the last rap artist with an iconic aesthetic, iconic flow, iconic aesthetic. Anything after that, she's influenced. And I don't see... there are people that have been successful, wildly successful, and have carved out their own lane, but I do not see it. And I'm sorry, the most entertaining part of the evening of the BET Awards was on the red carpet when Little Kim was being interviewed by DJ Envy, and he had to ask about verses, and Kim was like, "Oh yeah, I want smoke with Nicki. Let's do this. I'm ready for it." And I was like, you know what? Mama said what Mama said. Mama said she would challenge Nicki Minaj to a verses. Of course, the Barbs got in their feelings and tried to say that Kim doesn't have a catalog.
That's
that
the most
match.
Ridiculous. I don't get that. Okay, y'all, listen. I'm reasonable, Sir Daniel. I'm reasonable. But when people is popping off at the mouth saying stuff like Beyonce can't sing and that Lil Kim can't battle like a Nicki Minaj, that don't make sense to me. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
It's just y'all are just talking now. Y'all are just talking, saying stuff to be saying stuff. And it's not because I'm sitting here in my custom made Lil Kim shirt, but that I'm saying this. But I mean, literally, Kimberly Jones has proven time and time again she's had a run through the 90s, the 2000s. She's got it, and so
Lil Kim rapped the words, "You wanna bumble with the bee, huh?" That is that opened. That is the kill. That deaded everything. Wanna bubble with the bee, huh? Really?
And she won't even have. Okay, so I do not sound like a stan, Sir Daniel. You are not a stan right now. You're being a reporter. You're being a podcast host right now. You're not in stan mode. But she won't even have to rap the words herself. Like, the audience will finish it for her.
Go ahead. So the audience would be like dressed in all black, like the Omen. What?
Now, granted, Nicki Minaj and her fan base can do the same thing.
Absolutely.
What I'm saying, what our point though is that it will be an excellent show. There will be no lack on either of these women's parts to perform a versus.
Absolutely.
So all y'all out there saying that it can't happen, cut that out, because y'all said the same thing about Trina and Eve, and we had a wonderful versus from Trina and Eve. Y'all only say that because y'all just need something to talk about. But that's all. But what I said about Kim, being having the last iconic like aesthetic of a rap artist, I stand by that. I stand by that. And didn't we ask our viewers and our listeners to answer a
Yes,
question
we
for
got a
us?
question. So we want all of you to answer this question. This is the Q Points question of the week. Don't Yes, you could drop it in the chat, but we want to hear from you. This is a community that we are building, and it's very important that we involve y'all in this, and we want our people to see you. So we have a question for you. Which of these artists had the most iconic fashion looks? So we picked these three rappers: LL Cool J, Run DMC, or Busta Rhymes. So what you have to do is drop us a video. We ain't even playing. Drop us a video. The link is right there. swiy.io/QP video request. Answer this question. Which of these artists had the most iconic fashion looks and why you picked that artist? And who knows? It might show up in next week's show. It'll probably show up on Q Point social media. We want to hear from you. We are super excited about it.
Absolutely. And I'm very interested to see what the responses will be, because typically we talk about women, but those are all male artists.
Yep.
And those men, those gentlemen that definitely gave hip hop an aesthetic, gave it a look, and actually influenced the way people dress.
Yep.
So I can't wait to hear y'all responses, but I will say this. If you're, this is how you can tell somebody's iconic. If your everyday clothing, when you were a performer, becomes a Halloween costume that is intergenerational, that different people from different generations want to wear, you are iconic.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm going to say about that. If you're a Halloween costume, you're an icon.
Yep.
You are an icon.
Yes. Can we talk about because I know that we talked about Lil' Kim as being the last rapper with an iconic aesthetic, and I tend to agree. I do think there is an artist today that also has an iconic aesthetic. What's interesting about them is they don't even rock that style anymore. But when you think of them, and I'm curious, drop stuff in the chat to guess who I'm thinking about. But if you think about them, you think about their look that they had when they first emerged. But they don't even rock that look anymore.
They don't, but that look is still synonymous with them.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's because they came along like at the turn of the century, but I really do think in this artist, in her, and we,
actually them, like they do them, identify right. As them. That's correct.
As them, you are correct. This artist now is transitioning from just being a recording artist, is an Academy Award winner.
Yep.
Well, it's an Academy Award winning movies, and now is releasing mini stories through Harper's Bazaar of Vogue magazine, one of the two. Obviously we're talking about Janelle Monae.
Absolutely. The icon.
I think she's one of the last artists that gave us an aesthetic. Yes. And she even referred to it as her uniform because this is her job. That was her job.
Yep. Janelle Monae, absolutely. When I think of kind of contemporary folks, they really have created, first of all, they showed up in music with this look. I remember when I first saw that look and I was like, who is this and what are they doing? And it was like a robot and all of this stuff. And it was, but once again, spending time on your craft. They didn't just show up. You can go back to, was it the Idlewild soundtrack and hear Janelle Monae. This is the mid 2000s. So it wasn't like it was out of nowhere. So they really spent time working on that look. And I am excited to see how they have evolved. But when I do think of icon, yes. I think of this look, and Janelle Monae has this look that still to this day that we identify with them. And so, yeah, shout out to Janelle Monae and all the incredible work that they are doing. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That whole Cindy Mayweather era, as the kids like to say, was definitely groundbreaking. And people used to talk, ridicule her, like, why is she always wearing black and white? She don't wear color. Sis did what she had to do. She solidified herself.
Yep.
And that's what icons do.
Yes.
But speaking of people who are iconic, I think, and she's not even a black artist, but I think it bears discussing because we do talk about, a lot of our discussion has been about women, black women specifically, and how they are treated in this industry. And this woman is not black. However, what has happened to her it's an extreme example of what can happen to when women aren't allowed agency over their craft, their body. I mean, of course, we're talking about Britney Spears and the whole conservatorship that she's going through. It's so ridiculous. I can't even get it out. But finally, her attorney has filed for it. Like, she didn't even know. They kept all this information from her. They kept her drugged up. Like, they kept that all from her, and she didn't even know that she could file to have it ended. Sis was in that for 14 years, 13 going on 14 years of being under, this kind of slavery, basically. And people telling her, keeping her doped up like this, we need you to keep doing this so we can, still live off of you and eat off of your body, off of your talent.
Yeah. This is so what I learned actually in learning more about this case. And there was a leak of Britney's actual testimony, which was heart-wrenching. So she was talking so fast because you could tell like she was trying to get all of this stuff out and that she had written it down and wanted to be very precise about what was on the record. So I spent some time just kind of, watching a bunch of YouTube videos because it's like 3,000 folks that have done stuff, but some lawyers. And what I didn't realize, and it makes sense, is there's a lot of different conservatorships out there because, there are folks that have, developmental challenges that, so their lives are kind of wrapped up in other people being responsible for them. What I found so disheartening about the Britney situation is Britney is literally providing income for the people that are keeping her under the conservatorship. So she's actually working, actually producing. Britney, how many albums has Britney had out since the conservatorship? I think she's been had more creative output since being in it than ever. And so that's one of the things she talked about in her testimony. Like, I'm literally on tour, I'm working, I'm recording, I'm doing all of these things. I'm teaching choreography to the dancers and doing all of this stuff. And they're telling me that I can't control my own money, that I ain't even getting into the fact that they have apparently a process where she's unable to conceive, which is insane to me. I was like, what is happening? But once again, like we talked about last week and the week before, we start talking about what men, and this is in the case, unfortunately, her father, and what men tend to do. That's the worst part, how men...
The worst part of it.
Handle women. And so yeah, this story right here, even though Britney isn't a black woman, I do think just keeping an eye on this case is really important because honestly there's a lot of people. I think I saw the number of there's over 1 million people in the country who are under some sort of conservatorship. I don't know the exact number, but it's over 1 million, so it's a lot of people. And I just wish the best for Britney in this case because it sounds awful.
I think the best thing to come out of this, or something that we can all take away from this, is that, we talk a lot about fan bases and stan wars. But I will say when a fan base uses their power for good and uses their voice for good, something good can come of it, because a lot of, her fans are die hard.
Yes.
And they have been holding up the Free Britney hashtag and Free Britney movement way before the documentary even happened, and people talked about it until it got some traction, and then now the whole world is zoomed in on this, like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
And so, shout out to, I don't know what they're called, but shout out to Britney Spears and her fan base, because if it weren't for you guys, like, Britney may still be under this and still be in that hotel, that in her house, making crazy
weird
dance videos
IG
on Instagram
videos. Like now it all
I don't know,
makes sense.
it makes a lot of sense. She may have been communicating with them like, I'm really not okay.
Right.
And I'm glad about that. Yeah, this has been a very interesting show. All our shows are interesting. We're going to look at stuff and really dissect it, and take a look at how things are really going on as it pertains to Black culture and music specifically. And I was a part of a celebration over the weekend. I'd like to give a shout out to DJ Johnny Dynamite, and his whole crew, the Vinyl and Vibes crew, his wife Dasha. Like, though they put on a really great, they called it Vinyl and Vibes 14 Liberation.
Nice.
Because we were free, and we were able to come back to our lounge and join together and take in all these different DJs, like friends of ours, like DJ Deliver, JC, Applejack, Peppermint Gaddy. The list goes on. And it was just an amazing night. Nice. Amazing people got to touch the turntables. We got to partake in great food because we had vendors there. Lady Marauder, JB's Record Lounge all came out with the crates, and they were selling records. It was a whole event. So shout out to Johnny Dynamite and his family for bringing that back to us, because we definitely needed it. Sunday night was definitely needed. I can tell you though that none of the DJs that performed that night had to shoot up or shoot at anybody. But here in Atlanta, a lot of you outside of Atlanta probably didn't hear about this, but here in Atlanta, a DJ pulled out a gun in the middle of a night, Sunday night, I believe, Sunday night. At the Silver Ultra Lounge off of Sylvan Road in Southwest Atlanta, and it looks like how it sounds, guys. But in the middle of his set, apparently the manager of the club said something to him, and he pulled out in the middle of the set while the people were dancing or performers were performing, and let off some shots in the club. 3 people were injured. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was killed. Thank God. But 3 people were injured during the melee. But there's still no clear understanding of what was said. But J-Ray, I can guarantee you can ask me what I think was said to that DJ that led him to do that.
Sir Daniel, what you think that manager said to that DJ over there?
In the middle, probably after about 2.5 hours of performing, and we're getting close to the end of the night, the manager came up to him in the booth and kind of leaned over to him and whispered to him, said, yeah, man, we didn't do what we thought we was going to do tonight on the door in the bar. And, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay you like I said I was going to be able to pay you. And I'm just going to say that's where it went from there.
Listen.
And I'm speaking from experience.
Listen. 1, pay your people. Point blank, period. Pay your people.
Pay your DJs.
Pay your people. Pay them. And 2, bruh, you didn't have to shoot nobody or nothing or no.
He's probably depending on, a lot of us are just getting back to doing gigs, and he's probably depending on that money. And guys, we're speculating here.
Right.
Nothing has been reported that this is exactly what happened. But I'm speaking from experience, because this has happened to me on several occasions working in certain establishments and promoters that didn't necessarily were depending on the door, which is a bad idea. Promoters, do not depend on the door to pay your entertainment.
Yes.
Have that money budgeted already to pay them regardless. Oh.
You here?
Okay. Regardless, have that money ready to pay them regardless of what happens at the door. Do not depend on that door to pay your staff, and that includes the DJ. So anyway, it's a lot. This has been a very eventful week, J. Ray.
And there's stuff we didn't even cover. So you know what, y'all? Thank you so much for just hanging out with us and this is our Q Points round robin.
This is like our very first kind of hot topics episode.
Hot tops.
Hot.
I didn't mean
our shout out to the Reed and Kid Fury, but This is our our first kind of hot topics round robin kind of episode. So thank you for hanging in there with us. Remember, for all you Facebook haters, you can now go to qpoints.com and become a Q Points insider, so you can get all the gifts that come along with becoming a Q Points insider, and you can watch the show simultaneously while it's on Facebook as well. So, as I always say, kids, remember, in life, you can always either pick up the needle or you can let the music play. The choice is yours. Have a good weekend, guys.
Peace.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.